What is going on, guys, and welcome into What's Next of the AFC East. If you missed the first episode, I already did the NFC East, so please go check that out. And also, before we get into this video, I want to say, make sure you like and subscribe. It helps my channel out a ton, and I'm trying to hit 1,000 subs by the end of February. Also, check out the podcast, Tuesday Night Takes. It's been on hold for the last week and this week because of I've had a baby brought into the world, and I've been at the hospital because he's going to stay a little longer there. But either way, keep praying for my family in that vein, but also check out those episodes that have already been out, and we'll be posting more probably next week. Either way, let's get right into this video. Let's go ahead and get right into this. The AFC East, Patriots, Jets, Dolphins, and Bills. Going on to our first team, the New England Patriots. They finished off 4-13, and they were projected at 7.5 wins. This, to me, was not an underperforming season. This was their floor. This was as bad as they could be. The bad quarterback play. They had play calling issues. Bill O'Brien was supposed to come in and solve a lot of their offensive issues, and he simply didn't do that. He also was supposed to have a better roster construction, and, I mean, the Juju Smith-Schuster was not a good signing. He was not something that made a lot of impact. I think he only had like 200-something yards on the season, and half of that was in the Pittsburgh game. They rotated Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi all the time, and it wasn't a good, system this whole year. The defense played well, but what do you expect? It's Bill Belichick. They're going to play well. We're not worried about the defense. But the offense was incredibly bad. They ended up moving off of Bill Belichick, bringing in Gerard Mayo, which is what we get to next. We don't really know what their OC or DC looks like yet. Very possible that their DC remains Gerard Mayo. That happens every now and then, especially if a team has a successful defensive coordinator who moves up to head coach. They might control it still, but at this point, we don't know. Gerard Mayo, though, will be a first-time head coach. That's what we do know. Looking at this roster, it is not pretty. Obviously, the quarterbacks are a major issue. The running backs are not really particularly fond themselves. I mean, they're missing, Ramondre Stevenson on this list, but the offensive line is a solid unit still. Trent Brown is off contract. Mike Onwenu is off contract. They do have to fill 2 tackle spots. I expect them to let Trent Brown walk, but I would think they'd let Mike Onwenu get back on the team. However, it's not going to appear that way so far as we've seen throughout this offseason. David Andrews is a solid player. Jake Andrews is a solid player. Sidney So had a good, I believe, rookie year. Not a whole lot to argue about there. But looking at the keys of this offense, Demario Douglas was their best receiver, which is something I like to highlight because he was a 5th, 6th round rookie out of Liberty, and he just played well. He had about 600 yards receiving, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and it was a good season. Hunter Henry was their best receiving option, but obviously he's a tight end. But I mean, he's a guy you got to bring back if he's off contract, which I believe he might be. Juju Smith-Schuster, you need to see more from him, and then the quarterback position is obviously something that you just need more out of, no doubt about it. Going over to the defensive side, though, this defense is always going to be good because of Bill Belichick. And now with Gerard Mayo, it probably will remain good because he's just a mini Bill Belichick more than likely. Sean Wade is an interesting guy I'd like to bring up here. He ended up getting some play time this year. And, he was a guy who had a highly projected draft position and then fell way down boards. And now he's making a name for himself in New England. Obviously, they missed a lot of Matt Judon this year. They missed a lot of Christian Gonzalez this year. And those are big guys that they're going to get back next year, which will help a ton, make this defense even better. But Anthony Jennings, Josh Uche had okay years. Josh Uche did have a down year comparatively to last year, though. But that's probably because he didn't have Matt Judon on the other side of him. However, Keon White, Christian Barmore, there's a lot of young guys here to look forward to, and I don't think there's too much issue going forward that. Their draft capital, obviously, they've got all their picks, but they also have the number, 3 overall pick, and that's probably going to land them a quarterback, and that is what they're going to aim for in round 1, 100%. Notable free agents, they're all there. I mean, there's a lot of them, but, who are they going to bring back? They might be looking for an entire shift change with this. They have a ton of money, $70 million in cap, so they might not be too worried about it. Checking out who is available, we've got obviously quarterback at number 1. They need that. They need tackles if they're not going to bring both of them back. That's something they can target in round 2. They also need weapons. Just weapons, period. Whether it be a receiver, whether it be a tight end, they need weapons. Quarterback, edge, the linebacker, you got to have depth. You got to always add those things in there. And guys I think they should really try to re-sign are Hunter Henry, Mike Onwenu, Kyle Duggar, and Miles Bryant. Miles Bryant's been a solid player, and you just got to keep depth, especially when you lose multiple safeties and corners. Kyle Duggar, Jalen Mills, Miles Bryant. You got to get some of these guys back. You can also bring in guys from the outside, but this guy knows your system. They need to find a quarterback, though. That's the point of this whole thing. Drake May, Jaden Daniels, those guys are going to be available, more than likely, one of them. And it's just, do they wait and take that, or do they maybe try to move up a spot or two and get Caleb Williams, or ensure their chance at Drake May? I think it's a good idea, but I don't know. Money spent to the offense, they just have to put money on that offense. Hire talent. Get people in the building that are good at playing the game of football. That's as simple as that. Figure out the OC, because Bill O'Brien, I believe he also left. I want to say he's like at Ohio State or something now. And then just support your future, whether it be Drake May, whether it be another year of Bailey Zappi for whatever reason. Do something that makes this team worthwhile. Get Marvin Harrison Jr. if you're not going to get a quarterback in the draft. Go out and sign T. Higgins. Sign Michael Pittman Jr., whoever's available. Like I said here, Marvin Harrison, Keon Coleman, Xavier Worthy, those guys in the early second round at the back, or Marvin Harrison up in the first round if you don't take a quarterback. T. Higgins, Gabe Davis are both also potential signings. Patrick Queen would be a good linebacker signing for them, as the Ravens probably aren't going to be able to keep him. And, we're looking at a team that could be interesting next year. Jaden Daniels could be their quarterback. T. Higgins and Xavier Worthy could be their top two receivers. And that would be super interesting in my opinion. Moving on, we're going to go to the New York Jets. They finished 7-10, had a projection of 9.5 wins. However, they lost Aaron Rodgers 4 snaps in. What went wrong? I just told you. They lost Aaron Rodgers 4 snaps in. They also, to me, I think it was an issue that they gave up on Zach Wilson. Yes, he has played for 2 years. This was his third year, and he wasn't winning them in any football games. But he also wasn't losing you football games particularly. You could argue maybe he did a time or two, but I don't think you're going to get any better football play from Tim Boyle or whoever else you had this year. I don't even remember. They had a turnstile of quarterback. That's not going to help your offense. Changing the quarterback 24/7 is not going to help anything. It's only going to make things worse. Keep the guy in. Let him work. Let him just, go out there carefree. Don't let him think he's going to be replaced. That probably hurt him even more. Just go out there, and yeah, you might lose a lot. You also might get a better draft pick and help Aaron Rodgers significantly next year. The offense has to be more potent, though. They have Garrett Wilson. They have Breece Hall. Tyler Conklin is an okay tight end, but that's about it. They need a wide receiver 2. They need a wide receiver 3 potentially. They need another tight end that might actually be a legitimate playmaker. They need line help. They have to have that offense be more potent. The head coaching staff, Robert Saleh is staying. Jeff Ulbrich, even though Robert Saleh, I believe, does call plays, he's the defensive coordinator. Nathaniel Hackett has the offensive coordinator duties. Not a bad job in my opinion. We'll see what it is so far with Rodgers. Checking out the actual roster, though. Brett Ripien, that's another one that they played. That was for whatever reason. Aaron Rodgers is obviously your quarterback 1 of the future, or the near future. Breece Hall, he's a great running back. Israel Abanikanda, he's an interesting guy. I'd like to see him get some more play time, and I'm really thinking he might this next year. But either way, look at this receiver room. Garrett Wilson, great. Jason Brownlee, Xavier Gibson, even Randall Cobb. He was good like 10 years ago, but he's 37 years old at this point. Just Irvin Charles, Malik Taylor, Lance McCutcheon. Who are these guys? Alan Lazard, he's fine. He'll probably be really good when Rodgers comes back, but he's a Rodgers guy. That's it. That's all it is. But yeah, you've got Tyler Conklin and Uzoma, but do you really want to just have 2 tight ends on the field when neither of them are particularly amazing blockers? They're both more of receiving threats? No. There's not a lot of weapons here. Not to mention your O-line. Mekhi Becton has potential, but has been very inconsistent throughout his career so far. Laken Tomlinson, he's a solid player. Joe Tippmann looks like a very good signing. Max Mitchell, Connor McGovern, Wes Schweitzer, those are all 3 good interior guys. But Carter Warren, that's great. Elijah Vera Tucker, oh great. We got a guard there. You might move Elijah Vera Tucker back to that right guard spot, have some good depth on the interior, but then who's your right tackle? You don't have one. You got to go get one in the draft, and that's exactly what I think they're going to do this year. We'll go ahead and check out this. Like I said, Carter Warren, Elijah Vera Tucker is a big issue. The receivers, a big issue. Aaron Rodgers, whatever. Now, looking at the defense, obviously a very good unit. Maybe it's because of Robert Saleh's, schematics and things, or maybe it's because of, sometimes you say it's the X's and O's, and sometimes you say it's the Jimmies and the Joes, the people or the scheme. Which one is it? And this one could be a little bit of both. Very solid unit. Sauce Gardner, Tony Adams, replaced for Chuck Clark. But Sauce Gardner is obviously a really good player. DJ Reed is a good player. CJ Mosley, Quincy Williams, Quinnen Williams, Solomon Thomas, John Flinker Myers. These are all impact players this past season. Then not to mention you have Will McDonald waiting in the wings behind Jermaine Johnson. 2 guys who could potentially be your edge rushers of the future. This is a solid unit, and they just have to continue to capitalize on what they've done so far. Let Saleh worry about the defense and let Hackett worry about the offense. Get Rodgers back, get healthy, protect Rodgers, and get him things to throw to, whether that be Devontae Adams or a rookie receiver somewhere. Help him out 100%. Draft capital, they lose their second because of Rodgers not playing, and their positions of need. They need a receiver. They need a tackle. They need D-line. They need tight ends. They need quarterback, maybe just as a insurance plan. But, like, free agent-wise, they're doing okay. I mean, they need to bring back some kind of safety because they're losing 3 potentially. I assume they'll bring back Randall Cobb just because he's Randall Cobb and he's, Aaron Rodgers' buddy. Bryce Huff, they're going to let him walk. Solomon Thomas, we'll see about him. But they don't have a ton of money, so that's going to be an issue. However, here's what I think they should do. Round 1 has got to be a tackle. Olu Fashanu, Joe Alt, whoever is there, grab them immediately. They have to get a tackle, 1,000,000%. Then, round 3, round 4, grab a wide receiver in round 3. Round 4, grab a defensive lineman. Round 4, grab a receiver again. And round 6, hit a quarterback. Maybe a safety, but if there's a quarterback like Jordan Travis, if he falls because of his injuries, grab him, let him sit behind Rodgers. On the notable free agents, I only have the 3 safeties highlighted. I don't think they should bring them all back. It's because I think they should bring back at least 1 to 2 of them, and I don't know who to pick, so I just did them all. But the rest of it, I don't know for sure. Either way, going past that, they need to improve now, and that is going to be through their offensive line and their weapons. They don't have offensive line help. They don't have, talent on the offense outside of Wilson and Hall, and that's just not enough. They have to maintain that defense. It's a lot of good players. There's a lot of hope there. You just got to get it done. Prioritize Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall because they're going to be your stars of the future. These are huge things you can do to make sure this team not only succeeds while Rodgers is here, but also whoever replaces Rodgers down the line has got to have some support himself. Wilson and Hall can be huge parts of that. Their additions, Olu Fashanu is honestly target number 1. 1A, 1B, and 1C altogether. Talise Fuaga is number 2, and this is considering if Joe Alt's likely off the board, probably to Tennessee. I kind of expect that to happen at this point, at least in the draft process. So Olu should be there, and I think that would be a very solid spot for him. If not, go get Romadoon. If Malik Neighbors is available, get him. Get a high-end receiver and pick up a tackle later in the draft. It might not be the best player, but he's probably better than Max Mitchell. In the second round, you've got third round, you've got receivers that could be solid. Jalen Polk and Jalen McMillan, I believe both from Washington, and then Roman Wilson from Michigan. Those are very possible players to go and get. Or you go the other route and grab a Devontae Adams, a guy that Aaron Rodgers is super familiar with and has had his best years of his career with. Grab a Gabe Davis, who's a free agent from the Bills. And then maybe Tyron Smith, a tackle, from the Cowboys who's got a little bit of time left, but he's a high-end player. These are guys that they'll cost you money, they'll cost you draft picks, but this team needs to win now. There's not a time for them to win later. It's winning this next year. That's how they have to improve right now. Could they get Olu Fashanu? I think so. Jalen Polk is a high-end prospect for me that I think they can land in the third round. Devontae Adams is highly possible as well, considering he probably doesn't want to be in Vegas since he went there to play with Derek Carr. So we'll see what happens there. Either way, let's move on to our next team, the Miami Dolphins. In 2023, they went 11-6 with 9.5 projected wins. They lost to Kansas City in the wildcard round because it was cold, and Tua doesn't throw footballs in the cold. But not a huge issue. I mean, they also had a lot of... It is a huge issue, actually. I don't know what I just said. I just realized what I said. Sorry. That's a big issue. You can't just, it's a little chilly, I can't throw football now. Either way, what went wrong for them was, the cold weather and also just the injuries they faced on defense. It was atrocious. It was just obliterating their defense. And I understand. It happens, and that's something that you have to deal with, but if that happens, you really can't expect to win too much. Tyreek Hill's ankle also went to be basically a piece of a Slim Jim, so, it's hard for him to play super high for the last few games of the year. Didn't help at all. In terms of their staff, Vic Fangio's actually out. I made these slides before he was out, but they're getting a new defensive coordinator, so question marks all over that. Frank Smith is their OC. Mike McDaniel is their head coach, but Mike McDaniel obviously is the head coaching offensive coordinator combo. So, not a big deal there. We know he's a good offensive coordinator anyways. The roster, let's just check this out. Tua, he's a good quarterback. That's it. He's good. Not great. Won't ever be great. He might just be a little over average, but, it makes it work. Raheem Mostert, Devon Achane, really solid 1-2 combo there. They have Tyreek Hill, they have Jalen Waddle, but after that, I really don't care for what they have left at receiver. A lot of average, a lot of just mediocre. Cedric Wilson's okay. Braxton Berrios is okay, but there's nothing special. They need a tight end. That's just a very poor room. Durham Smythe is, not the best tight end, if I don't have to say that myself. Teron Armstead might be a guy they lose this year. Robert Jones, Isaiah Wynn, Connor Williams, Robert Hunt, Austin Jackson. The rest of the line's not terrible. They could make spot improvements, but nothing that I think is in crazy shape. Isaiah Wynn, Connor Williams, like I said, Durham Smythe, yeah, I already went over all that. Either way, defense, let's go. Christian Wilkins, a guy who might be a free agent. I don't really remember exactly when he's off contract. I think it is this year, though, and that's a guy they got to look at. Other than that, lots of injuries in that secondary and in that linebacker room. They suffered mightily. I have two different color starting stars to explain that in a minute. Emmanuel Ogba's a guy they're going to lose. He's not done much, and they're paying him way too much. But Xavier Howard, Deshaun Elliott, Javon Holland, Andrew Van Ginkel, Jalen Phillips, Jerome Baker, Bradley Chubb, all of these guys are key players that they lost to injury in major sections, or Brandon Jones stepped in during that time. The teal circles, or whatever you want to call them, are mainly highlighting the interesting players they had to play due to those injuries. Bruce Irvin, Melvin Ingram, Justin Houston. These are guys who, you say you put those guys on the same team 6, 7, 8 years ago, man, this is a heck of a defense. Now it's like, okay, well, we'll hope we can get this done. So, yeah, not the best situation there. Either way, we'll move on from that and look at their draft capital, look at their free agents. Obviously, quite a few free agents that are pretty, stand out. Connor Williams, Robert Hunt, Isaiah Wynn, Jerome Baker, Christian Wilkins, Andrew Van Ginkel, and Eli Apple. They have negative $43 million in cap room. How are they going to bring them all back? I don't know. However, the salary cap doesn't exist, and there's just some bunch of gymnastics you can do to make it all work. They have to get help on that defensive side, though, in my opinion, especially on that interior of their defensive line. Then you got to move to the tight end spot. You got to move to the offensive line, linebackers, corners. It's mainly about depth for this team. This team is going to have a lot of the guys in the spots they need them to be. It's just you got to get guys behind them that if somebody gets injured, you have insurance on that. So what should they do? Round one, defensive line. Then tight end, offensive line, double dip, maybe one of each. I don't know. Find something else to grab. Then in free agency, you have to figure out a way to get back Connor Williams. More than likely Robert Hunt as well. Jerome Baker is a possible one. Christian Wilkins and Andrew Van Ginkel, I think you have to bring them back. I think those are honestly number one and number two. Connor Williams, he's like a 2A, 2B type situation, but maybe he's 2 under Wilkins and 3 is Van Ginkel. I don't know. But either way, those are very impact guys that you got to bring back on this team. And how are you going to do it? I don't know. But that's your job to figure it out, and that's something that they need to do. The Saints have done it, so you can too. They have to re-sign what they can, as I've said. They need to secure 2 as options, and by that I mean the receivers. They have to be open. They have to be healthy. They have to be available to play. And that's something that you can get concerned of with Tyreek Hill's injury, with Jalen Waddle not staying on the field this past year. The offensive line and the running game, they made it work, but they could get better. They could definitely be better. They had it with speed, and they need to get it with power. They need to get options. They need to get different sides of the game. I think they can land Jerzon Newton or Troy Fautanu from the draft. Either one, the defensive line or the tackle. Either one would be great. Either one would help. Next, you can get Jackson Powers Johnson or Zach Frazier, 2 centers, one out of Oregon, the other out of West Virginia. And then some free agents you can target, potentially Jonah Williams, Javon Kinlaw, Grover Stewart, guys that have been around a while, but maybe not elite because you can't afford elite, but you can afford good and get some good. So next year, focus on the trenches. That's what they've got to do. That's the summary for Miami in 2024. Jerzon Newton would be a high-end player if he's able to go to Miami. Jonah Williams, Jackson Powers Johnson. Fix these trenches, win in the trenches. That makes you win in January. The running game, stopping the run, doing both of those things, that gets you football wins in the playoffs in January. And that's just how you have to win in the NFL. Going to our final team, we have the Bills, and they are 11-6. They just got over their win projection at 10-5. They started like 5-5 and got to the divisional round, won the 2 seed. They lost to Kansas City once again. But what went wrong? Their playoff defense. They went back to Josh Allen's hero ball. They didn't run the ball. This is all, on the coaching staff. This is not on Josh Allen. Anyone who thinks that Josh Allen is at fault for that game is absolutely direly wrong. This was his best year of his career, in my opinion. I don't care about the turnovers. I just simply don't. He scored 44 touchdowns. Disregard the turnovers that were, 2 or 3 more than Mahomes, but nobody talks about that. Either way, the playoff D needs to be a scientific study of how in the world do they lose so many players in the playoffs every single year on that defense. Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde, Tre'Davious White, I don't even know the rest. All the linebackers, they're all Matt Milano. What is happening? What is this team doing? How do they lose? Why can't, obviously when they ran the ball and made it a point, that's how you win games. Like I said about Miami, like Baltimore, how they lost this past weekend. You have to run the ball. And that can be with Josh Allen, but it can't be exclusively with Josh Allen. James Cook is an average running back, but he had a very good season because they tried. They attempted to run the ball. And that's okay. Do that. You have to run the ball with not just your quarterback, even though that quarterback is by far the best player on the field. Moving on, their offensive and defensive coordinator, Sean McDermott, has handled the defense for a while now. Joe Brady's their interim offensive coordinator. That could definitely change, but we will see. Nothing going to change there this year, I assume, honestly. Their offense. There is a big misunderstanding, in my opinion, about the Buffalo Bills. That they have a great, amazing team, and Josh Allen should be doing better. He should have won a Super Bowl by now. Maybe he should have won a Super Bowl by now. Maybe they should have been in the Super Bowl by now. I don't disagree with that. However, there is not a lot of talent on this offense. Look down the board. James Cook is an average running back. Oh, he gets 5 yards a carry. It's all schematics. It's wide open. It's because they're so scared of Josh Allen running. It's because they're scared of Stephon Diggs taking a slant to the house. It's schematics. It's not James Cook. Promise. He's a good guy. I like James Cook a lot. He could develop into a good running back, but right now, he's an above average running back, we'll say. Stephon Diggs, obviously a great receiver. Oh, he had a down year. He's not a number one anymore. Get out of here. He is a number one. He just had a down year because, want to know why? They keyed in on him. Double coverage. Who else are you going to throw to? Khalil Shakir? Really? That's your next best guy? Trent Sherfield. Oh, that's a great option as well, right? Okay, my bad. Gabe Davis, in my opinion, is probably the most overrated receiver in the NFL. Once again, overrated does not mean bad. He's just really good at doing two things, and that's it. A slant route or a go route. And want to know why? It's because Josh Allen puts the ball right on him every time. Josh Allen is the second best quarterback in the league, and it's not a debate. It just isn't. He's better than anyone else at everything other than Mahomes, except for Mahomes. Either way, there's not a lot of talent on this offense outside of that. Kincaid, Knox are great. The line, to me, is average. It's not that great. Those guys are what they are, but Dawkins is a good left tackle. Don't get me wrong. Edwards, Morse, Brown, average to subpar. Brown, subpar. Edwards probably in the middle of that. Morse is average. Osiris Torrance is a guy I really liked in the draft last year, and I think he will be completely fine. However, this past year was not a great sign for him. They need a little bit more from him. They got to see more, and I think they will. I think he'll develop nicely. I think he's going to be a very good guard in the NFL. They just have to see it. Tackle is a big issue for them, though, because Dawkins is getting a little older, and then you have Spencer Brown, who's just not good at the job at all. I've seen him recover more fumbles than anything else. Either way, defensively, this is a good defense when they are healthy. Let's keep that in mind. Greg Rousseau is a solid player. They're going to lose A.J. Epinesa more than likely. Ed Oliver, Leonard Floyd, all solid players. Von Miller was a no-show this year, and he's going to be costing a lot of money to be that. So we'll see what happens there. But Dorian Williams is a solid linebacker. I really liked out of the draft from Tulane, and I'm interested to see what they do with him. Terrell Bernard had a great year this past year. A lot of high-quality football from him. But once again, they brought in Rasul Douglas so that he could be, basically the replacement to Trey White, which isn't exactly a one-for-one. But Jordan Phillips, Matt Milano, Trey White, Taylor Rapp, Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde both missed time. Kyrie Elam stinks. There's a lot of injuries here. There's definitely guys that aren't listed here that were injured this year, 100%. And the worst part is they're not just starters who were injured. They're your best starters. Trey White, Terrell Bernard, Matt Milano. These are some of your best guys you have on your team, and they're all unavailable. And yes, it happens to everyone. You can't call that an excuse. I agree 100%. But at the same time, this happens every single year. How does this not happen to other teams every single year? Or how do they not get a year where nobody gets hurt, really? That happens as well. It's just hard to look through. Their draft capital this year, they have a lot of 6th-round picks and 5th-round picks, but everything else is pretty standard, minus the 3rd. They need help at the receiver position. They might lose Gabe Davis. I think they should let him walk, honestly, as long as they find a replacement. It's at least decent. But they have a lot of free agents, too. Micah Hyde, he's getting older. Dane Jackson, he's okay at best. Taylor Rapp, a guy who's at least good depth. Leonard Floyd, A.J. Epinesa, guys who are a little scary to lose considering Von Miller hasn't done anything. Daquan Jones was solid this year. Terrell Dodson could be a guy for you. Latavius Murray obviously stepped in. A lot of good players that they're going to potentially be losing. But they have a lot of draft picks. Can they do a replacement? Can guys like Dorian Williams and Greg Rousseau step up even more? Maybe they retain A.J. Epinesa at a cheaper cost so they can, lose Leonard Floyd or something like that. Here's what I think they should do, though. Wide receiver, round 1, 100%. Offensive tackle, round 2, unless there is a high-end tackle in round 1 that slips a little bit. Talise Fuaga, the guy from Washington, I can't remember his name right now. Not Faalele, that was last year. Either way, you get the point. Safety, need help with that, just depth-wise in round 4. 5, 6, just draft cornerbacks from 5 down because you got to have somebody to replace Trey White every single year. They need to try to bring back Micah Hyde, though. Dane Jackson, I think, as well for depth purposes. Tim Settle, Daquan Jones, at least one of them. Terrell Dodson would be a smart idea as well. A.J. Epinesa and Gabe Davis are both, if you can, but those are more luxuries, in my opinion. A.J. Epinesa a little bit less just because he probably won't cost so much, but you got to do what you got to do. How they can improve, though. I mean, offensive talent has to help. Mahomes doesn't have any help. Yeah, but he also has Travis Kelce. Oh, but he has Stephon Diggs. I'll give you that. Well, he has Isaiah Pacheco. And Isaiah Pacheco is, if you're counting Bills and Chiefs players in order, Isaiah Pacheco's 3 after Kelce and Diggs in whatever order you even put them. That's just, there's more help in Kansas City than there is in Buffalo. People don't want to talk about that either. They need more run blocking. They have to figure out their offensive identity. And it's not just let Josh Allen take over. Josh Allen can do that. He can win you games by doing that. However, you're not going to win every game doing that. So you got to help him out. Defensive depth, just to live a little. And I think the guys they need to target in the draft. Brian Thomas Jr. will be a really solid one in round 1. Keon Coleman or Adonai Mitchell in round 1 as well. In the back end there. Graham Barton, Tavondre Sweat, and Chris Jenkins, all guys they could use in that defensive line. And then Mike Evans, Jeff Okudah, and Sean Murphy-Bunting are all guys that would be really interesting if they were able to land. Mike Evans is a bit of a higher end, but that means you put him and Diggs on side by side, and you cause problems. That's what you're trying to do there. You're going to cause a lot of problems. Jeff Okudah and Murphy-Bunting, they're very solid players, but you just, you need people in the room right now. Will they come there? I don't know. But to me, what can you do? Potentially, is that, I believe, Chris Jenkins? I'm not sure, honestly. I can't remember who I put on this. I made these slides a while ago. Adonai Mitchell, Sean Murphy-Bunting. These are guys that could really improve Buffalo's talent and their ability quickly. These are guys that I think they need to focus on. The positions are what they need to focus on entirely. This is how Buffalo gets better. They have to add more talent for Josh Allen to get some help and not be doing it all his own every single game. Well, you just take away Stephon Diggs. Okay, he'll just hit you with 17 passes to Khalil Shakir. That doesn't work every time. So either way, let me know what you think about the AFC East. What do you think is next? Let me know down in the comments below, and I will catch you on the next video.